Our country is set up to fail. The United States spends more on healthcare than any industrialized nations, yet we have the most chronic disease and the shortest lifespan. Why is that?
Can that actually be defeated, or is it too big of Juggernaut, do you think?
There's a lot of deep, dark money there.
If you could give me 3 or 5 top things to focus on.
Decreasing those 5 things would tremendously help American and human health as a whole.
Dr. Will Cole, man, it's great to have you on the show.
Hey,
the doctor
buddy.
and the nurse, and you are a doctor. I'm a nurse, not RN certifiably, but you are doctor, legit.
Yeah. So they say. Yeah, I get people healthy. You can call me what you want.
Well, speaking about healthy, let's the hot thing I feel like for the past, call it 6 months is Maha. Make America healthy again. I love it. I also loved Lucky Charms though. So I'm a little bit disappointed that they're getting called out. Like, here's my thing. Why aren't Frosted Flakes? What about Fruit Loops? They're good. They're cool. Lucky Charms is just getting the blunt of it.
I mean, Lucky Charms, I feel like Fruit Loops got a big hit too. And, you kind of feel bad at a certain point. It's like we're making a certain cereal poster child for something. And look, I'm not, and the other ones are like kind of off the hook. I think Fruit Loops or whatever the other ones you saw in the media was maybe just emblematic of the larger issue, right? A conversation starter, if you will, of like, where do we even start with our food supply? But you say, I mean, it's definitely a hot topic when you talk about Maha. I mean, people either love it or hate it, and then you wonder, what do they hate? What do they hate about making people healthy?
What do you think they hate? Here's what I think. I think there's some people in the space that are jealous of the other people in the space.
I mean, that could probably be it. And I do think there's a level of being a contrarian in our culture, no matter what topic you're discussing, gets more engagement, right? It gets that confirmation bias. And then you create in the comment section of your post this sort of keyboard warrior bully tribe. And that's what happens because it's just a lot of echo chambers of people being super negative and like to just tear other people down. So I think that's partly it in any topic, but this is just on gasoline, if you will, on the fire, is that it is converging health with politics, and politics pisses 50% of people off depending on the topic. Like the other half is not going to be happy. And look, I think historically, you look at the current administration, it has gone through, no matter what side you are on the topic, there's been a lot of press and mostly negative press about it. So you have a lot of people that have only heard one side of the story, and I would say it's not the full truth. And I'm coming from a completely health perspective, and I think when you look at the Maha movement, which is like I'm saying that in the most benevolent sense, we're working with the administration to try to get some things that I do for a living passed and democratized for all Americans. So I'm not coming from a politician standpoint, nor am I going to say I agree with everything any politician does across the board. But the health side of things, democratizing health for Americans and making some headway in areas is something from a pragmatic standpoint, something that I'm excited for.
That's cool. You experienced this, being able to be with them. Where was that? Was that in DC? Where you at?
Yeah. Okay. I was a few different places. I don't get out much, David. I mean, it's like I'm a pretty much introverted guy, and I'm in telehealth, so I pretty much stay in this room that we're talking right now, and 10 hours a day, and I rarely and randomly get outside. But I did a few times this year. We were at the Kellogg's headquarters in the fall. That was kind of a thing, talking about picking on Fruit Loops, but it's more than that. It was just a conversation starter. And also then, I was there for the Maha Ball during the inauguration, where pretty much everybody in functional medicine, I can say everybody, but
Yeah,
a
there's
lot of people within functional medicine
Yeah.
and wellness and medicine that's functionally minded. I mean, anybody that's interested in
Hmm.
progressing this movement was there. And let me be very, very clear. These are largely apolitical, independent, I would say even left of center people. So
Mhm.
it is what you're hearing on the mainstream news is really not the full picture, because this is a very diverse group. This isn't like a ultra right group at all. And I wish people knew that, because there's so much
Well, I
smear
think,
campaigns and
yeah.
hyperbole online.
I mean, I just think if anybody's actually believing this mainstream news, then you've been asleep for 5 years and there's really probably no help for you. Like, that's kind of how it is. Like, if someone's like, hey, I watched the news and I believed it, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably never going to believe anything you say again.
Right. We should have, that's it's sad that it's there. And that's part of, it's sad that we're at that place, because I really feel like we need to rebuild trust in the media. And when you look at someone like Bobby Kennedy, right? And it's not about worshiping Bobby Kennedy, but it's just like, is he a vehicle to bring in diverse people within medicine? Where, I mean, the brilliant minds he's bringing in, Johns Hopkins medical doctors as heads of HHS, that and other people that are really esteemed in the conventional medicine world, but are independent thinkers that aren't owned by special interests. That's the difference. And they're looking for change. I wish that they realized that, there's so much negativity out there in the media. We have to ask, well, why is that? Why is almost all the press around the Maha movement, specifically Bobby Kennedy, negative, 98% or so negative over the past few years? There's a reason for that. I mean, these aren't like a group of Mother Teresas that are coming after Bobby Kennedy. These are people that are part of the sick care system, and we're spending more on healthcare than any industrialized nation. Yet we have the most chronic disease, the shortest lifespan of all industrialized nations. We are home to 70% of pharmaceutical profits, and we make up about 4% of the world's populations. So that's what's coming after this movement. There's a lot of deep, dark money there.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head too, of like deep, dark money. Anytime there's something that's so agenda driven, you have to follow the money. And I'm glad that, people's eyes are becoming open to this. Is there just thinking about this, like, there's so much money in pharmaceuticals, like so much power. Is there a world where the Maha movement and, actually healthy things become the norm, and it's not the pharmaceuticals where we're going to make you sick? Can that actually be defeated, or is it too big of juggernaut, do you think?
I think the solution is going to be, and maybe this is too Pollyanna on me, but I do think that, to be clear, I'm not part of the administration. I'm not involved in it. I am a functional medicine doctor. I get people healthy from a ground up, like bottom up individual level. I'm just part of this conversation of, okay, I see people in my space that are talking about food policy and health policies that can be top down, of things that I see improve people's lives on a daily basis. So that's why I'm excited, because I have 15 plus years experience where my entire focus, as I said, stuck in this room, getting labs and lives improved. So if there's even a little bit of a hope, and time will tell, right? A lot has to happen. As you said, there's a lot of things that can happen, but even the possibility of the truth, when you know about American history and 100 years of the medical industrial complex, we're closer now than ever before.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Of saying, okay, this is something that I see improve people's lives. Can we democratize this for everybody, no matter who you are? People that don't have access to functional medicine doctors, because that's always one of the kind of critiques in functional medicine, is that you're not accessible and not every American can get you. Okay, well, now we're trying to do that, and there's so much negativity. So to answer your question, time will tell. I don't know but I do feel like we're closer than ever before. But I do feel like the solution's gonna be both and, not either or. Like, we're not trying to take anybody's pharmaceuticals away, right? And there's many people that are alive because of pharmaceuticals. We just have to have a both and, not either or approach. Like, what's your most effective option that causes you the least amount of side effects? So, like, the three main things we want to do are really, I think most Americans would get behind if they actually heard the truth and not just some smear campaign and hit piece in the media. It is allowing for full transparency and science without presupposition, without cherry picking data, and having full, just let's look at everything. Let's have randomized controlled trials on all the options out there and find the most effective option, and not having favoritism towards big pharma and suppressing data when it's inconvenient. And number two is we need to stop subsidizing, the government paying for food that is killing Americans. When you look at the SNAP program and the public school system, I mean, it is ridiculous that we are subsidizing food that is feeding chronic disease to the people that are the most at risk for things like type 2 diabetes and autoimmune conditions and cancer and heart disease. And the third thing is we just want to empower Americans to make the decision for themselves so they can have true choice of everything that they want, whether it's a pharmaceutical that's been vetted properly and has true transparent data, or it's some alternative option for Americans to choose. So again, the three things that I mentioned there, I think most Americans could get behind, and it's nothing radical. It's just something that should have happened a long time ago, but better late than never.
Dude, I think you're so right. I mean, it's funny because, we're in this world and we're around people that know it and we have this knowledge, and it's so interesting to see that there's still so many people that just don't know. Like, I boarded a flight in Charlotte this must have been 8 months ago. And I kid you not, it was probably 80% obese. I was like, what are we just all eating at Bojangles? Are we just, marketing that?
Crazy. Yeah, Bojangles or something like it. But I mean, look, this is the point where I get this. I'm like, if I'm on a Southwest flight, I have seen humiliation of some bigger people that have to go and they will buy 2 seats, right? Because they can't fit in 1 seat. And I've seen this multiple times. But Southwest, with their open seating policy, where you're not assigned a seat, and Southwest is changing that.
Yeah,
my side hustle should be telling you about Southwest because I fly that too often. But they'll sit, and these people have bought 2 seats because they need to, because they cannot fit in 1 seat. But they have to go through humiliation of explaining everybody that they can't sit there because they bought the whole row. It is like, my heart goes out to anybody like that. But our country is set up to fail. There's so much like conflicts of interest in the information out there where people don't know how to even get out of this. So that's why empowering and educating people with actual ways to heal and get healthy and not just manage their disease with pharmaceuticals is so important. Because look, when I was at Kellogg's and we spoke about artificial food dyes last year, I thought, okay, I've talked about food dyes for years, and I thought, okay, this is important. They promised to remove these dyes. They didn't remove these dyes. There's no reason to have these. The EU requires a warning label on these artificial food dyes. They have their Fruit Loops in Canada and the EU don't have them. They're colored with fruit and vegetable extracts, not artificial food dyes. They mess up kids' brains. They're linked to other inflammatory problems and other autoimmune problems. They're not good. But I thought, okay, the average American, they know about artificial food dyes. I was so wrong, because I got home and there were people that I went to church with that said, I looked through my pantry and my fridge. I threw out tons of stuff. I had no idea.
Oh my God.
And that just shocked me. I'm like, A, you're friends with me. How do you not know that? I failed as a friend. And B, it's like, but that just shows you can be tangentially connected to people within health. You could think you know somebody, but there's still such a learning curve for people to even be empowered to have literacy when it comes to the ingredients of the foods they're consuming. So this is just the beginning of where we need to go.
Yeah, it's well said, man. And I think it's almost so contradictory of the whole body shaming movement that went on to celebrate this. And then people are just so confused. Like, no, don't celebrate that. Like, it's something that we don't have to shame it as like, hey, you're a horrible human being. You're not. Everybody's loved by God. But don't embrace it like, hey, being fat is the new great thing, because it's not. God created your body as a temple, not one to say, let's make it the size of a temple.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the ultimate pandering, right? We love to
Mm.
overcorrect. We love to overcorrect in our culture
So
because
good.
the
Yep.
world says, like, I mean, historically, we have toxic diet culture. No one's going to deny that, right? Of like shaming people, being cruel to people, creating a lot of disordered eating. It's about thinness and vanity and the way that people look, and social media kind of exploded all of that. And then what's our solution is to like swing so far in the other direction where we just ignore basic nutrition science facts, basic human health facts, and pander and enable people, which it's, if you truly love somebody, you actually, and care for somebody, you want to call them to something greater and not tell them to continue to feed something that's killing them. And chronic metabolic problems takes about 4 to 10 years off of your life. How much do you love somebody if that's what you're enabling? I mean, it is so, it's the amount of cognitive dissonance around that, the health at any size, or there's no such thing as a bad food, or body positivity. It's soaked in virtue signaling because it sounds so good. It sounds like the nice Christ-like, upstanding, compassionate thing, but it's anything but. It's just overcorrected, and we need a both and, not either or approach there too. It's like you're not a bad person when you eat a food that doesn't love you back, but you're also doesn't make you healthy either. And I think we need to like split the two up and say, like, yeah, this isn't a moral indictment per se, but we also have to realize that there are foods that love the human body back and foods that don't. And it's not one of restriction, but it's one of self-respect. Like continuing to eat something that doesn't love you back is a form of self-harm, and really empowering people and saying, I love my body enough, I respect myself enough, I have enough self-compassion for myself that I want to eat something to love me back. So we need to reclaim this entire narrative and have this sort of middle ground, both and approach, which is, if I was in charge, which I'm not, I would love this to be a part of this Maha conversation, because there's so much wars on either side, this sort of toxic tribalism within diet culture and anti-diet culture. And I think the solution that I just laid out here is really the path forward.
Well, I would put you in charge. That's one of the best.
Do you know a guy?
Come on.
Do you know somebody?
Come on. Donald? Hey, that was one of the best 3 minutes of any kind of health, wellness I've ever heard. The self-respect. Like, I've never heard it said like that. That is very, very true. It is ultimately self-respect. It's not either or, it's both, but in a self-respecting type of way. Damn, that's good, man. Hey, so was there anything you saw behind the scenes when you were out there in these different spots with the Maha team and seeing in government, and you're like, ooh, yeah, that's not good? Any like juicy behind the scene things back there with that you could say without us still being alive?
Yeah, right. You have to be careful, but no, I mean, it's like Kellogg's is crazy. I mean, that wasn't so much governmental. That's more like food activism. But like to be on the ground with 1,000 people, and we gave Kellogg's, I think it was over 400,000 and counting signatures to remove artificial food dyes from cereals. That's the largest, to my knowledge, the largest food petition in American history. So this is like no small feat. And that I give 100% credit to Vani Hari, Food Babe, and Jason Karp from Hugh Brands, and Callie Means. These guys are doing amazing things, and we just all came around to support their movement and take it to the next level in any way that we could. So that was really cool to be a part of. What I think of is, and Vani showed us at the beginning of the year that it was one of the top health news stories of the year, was that movement. So that was cool. I'll tell you, the juicy bit was when we got up to the Kellogg's headquarters in Battle Creek, Michigan. Shout out to Battle Creek, Michigan. Beautiful little town.
Totally.
Really. And I, want the best. Kellogg's can pivot. Kellogg's can evolve. I don't think we should be banning any company, but the company should be held accountable to things that are knowingly poisoning our people. So let's call Kellogg's to something greater. And that's what we tried to do. But this lady held out she must have wrote on a poster board really fast, which I give her credit to that. She must have not been too busy. And then wrote "Get off our lawn." And it was all these kids and moms and, us in health space there. And it just, what I think could have been a good PR move for Kellogg's. Okay, even if they did nothing, they could like take the signatures and like, all right, like, yeah, we hear you. Your voices are heard. They did anything but that. They kind of exploded the entire thing. And that's where we really merged with the whole Maha movement, because it was really like an independent group. But then Bobby Kennedy heard about what we were doing, and we kind of, the missions were the same. They were parallel missions. But I really feel like it was that moment in Battle Creek, Michigan that really took Maha to the next. It got Maha's like the stories and the headlines so much greater. And again, 98%, you would say, maybe 90%, if you're being generous, of negative press around Bobby Kennedy. The American people saw through that. And that's why, when you look at the statistic, Bobby Kennedy is more popular than most presidents that run for office, despite 90% negative coverage. So could you imagine if there was fair coverage of the movement? Like how much more popular, how much more Americans would get behind this movement? So that's a kind of an interesting thing. And then being in the Maha ball, what I did see, I'll say, is there's so much social climbing in DC. And I've been in Hollywood before, and like I've been enough in that space, and you see it there. It was like Hollywood on steroids. The amount of like social climbing. I needed to get my Enneagram 5 introvert nature was like, get me the heck back to Western Pennsylvania. I needed to get home. So that was like not surprising, but when you're in the belly of the beast like that, you're just like, yeah, this is not for me. I'm fine to help out in any way in my lane, but I could never be there full time.
Man, I think that honestly, it speaks volumes to you as a person, the friend that I've got to know is you're about it for the right reasons. And I think there's in any industry, whether it's, motivational speaking, NBA coaching, health and wellness, Hollywood, politics, there's always the people that are social climbers, and they ruin it for the rest of everybody else because they're trying to do it for their own mission and their own agenda. And not the bigger purpose. Their I is bigger than their why instead of the opposite.
Yes. You should do this for a living, David. I don't
know. Should I speak? Should I be a speaker?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah, I think it's in your future.
Oh man, that's interesting, because it is like there was, whenever I go to Europe, I always think this too. Like you look at the structures and you're like, man, the detail, the intricacies put into every little carving. If you've seen the Duomo in Florence, you're just how does this actually exist? But then when you come back to modern day America, like why did they cut corners? When did that start happening? And then that bled over to the food industry of, if you can save a penny per flake or per box or per building, you're going to do it. And it's just cost humanity so dearly, I think, over the past 150 years.
Yeah, it really has. And we have to ask why, right? Even if you're on the fence, like let me just take the other perspective on this. Let's just say someone's anti-Maha. They think that it's connected to something that they really can't get behind. Let's ask why. Like just at least be curious to the questions. I mean, the statistics speak for themselves. The United States spends more on healthcare than any industrialized nations, yet we have the most chronic disease and the shortest lifespan. How come? Why is that? Why is it the fact that 93% of the United States is metabolically unhealthy? Why do 1 in 5 kids, about 15 million children, have a diagnosable mental, emotional, or behavioral disorder? Why? Why does the average person today have 3 times the chance of being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease than that same age group had in the 1980s, just the 1980s? Why are we faced with an epidemic rise of infertility? Why have we seen a 50% drop in sperm count in the last 40 to 50 years? These things are common, not normal. Just because something's common doesn't necessarily make it normal. And we have to ask why, right? And what's going on here? Is it one thing? Is it just Fruit Loops? No, but it's a confluence of factors that we need to start asking why. And then the flip side is that people say to this, because I'm just thinking of the contrarian that's listening to this episode that's super pissed off that we're talking about this. So I'm talking to you because I love you too. Is that you say, well, why do you think that the Trump administration would ever do anything about this? So let me say, first of all, we should not wait on any government or any politician for what we can do now. So start changing your health now. Don't wait for some policy. Start changing your family culture now. Don't wait for it. So this, I want, like, on a grassroots, like, this is really my day job, is getting individuals healthy, not government policy. So I would say, yeah, I agree with you. Don't wait. And humans are flawed beings. And even the people that I think are good in this space, they can let me down, and time will tell on all of that. But on a government policy standpoint, like, okay, I really believe there's a massive realignment that's happening. Because if you look at the largely of what this movement's made up of, it's not quote unquote Republicans. These are just independents that are working within the system to create change. So what, like, the indictments that they're making on, like, the old sort of right versus left is really not even a thing anymore. This is really, in my opinion, the first administration, the first election that was so much more than just like a political party. This is like a very eclectic ragtag group of independents. And yes, some are Republicans, but many of them are not, ideologically or historically. We have a two-party system. And to me, it's what we're going to look back at is this has been a realignment of statists versus populists. And that's really what we're talking about. So we need to even have new definitions on how we even talk about politics, I think, in today's world.
That was one of the best well said 3-minute spans on politics too. Like, I would vote for you, Will. I would totally, you have my vote. But it's true. Like, hey, it's man, not. These people,
that's not going to happen.
Well, I'll write it now. So there,
that's right.
Yeah, I mean, so many people were of the different party and before, and when you have a president who doesn't need it, would be better well served of just all his money that he has in business and going off on an island and playing golf. Like, that's when you're like, well, why are you doing this? That is mission driven.
Well, yeah, and you look at people like Tulsi Gabbard. She's a Democrat, right, historically. Right. Bobby Kennedy was a Democrat. I mean, these are just like, they have to realize that the whole, like, even the social and the health policy side of things, all the things that the Maha movement's talking about has always been a left of center thing. And let me just remind people of that. Like, so that is the weird, I will call it weird, coalition of people they're not going to agree on everything, but they are coming together in sort of what I would call a populist type. How do we help Americans? How do we help Americans become healthier physically, but then also economically and all these other sort of veins? I'll stick to the health part, but that's sort of the overarching bond, I think, between this diverse group of people. Man,
so well said. All right. Well, you know what? Like, there's not many people and you go on social media, and I always tell people like this, is nothing really good comes from social media and scrolling, but there are a few very good follows. You are one of them. You bring incredible knowledge, insight to your post. Very well thought out, educational. Dr. Will Cole is a great follow. Mine, if you want to follow my fluffy puppy, that's probably a good follow for you too. But I'd go with Will.
Wait, what's Fluffy Pup? What's Fluffy Puppy?
Yeah, it brings everybody warmth. Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, that's right. Puppies. Who doesn't love a fluffy puppy?
It's a good point. All right. Yeah. Before we let you out of here, let's say that I am one of those people that have just been, been down in Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms. I'm from Michigan and I love Kellogg's. If you could give me 3 or 5 top things to focus on to just reverse and pivot my health from, I'm a total mess to, okay, I'm on the right track, what would you give to me who needs you dearly?
Yeah. Okay. I would say, well, I think if we could lump some together, this is going to end up being longer, but I think people want it. People want the lump together. Decrease the inflammatory core 4 would be number 1. So that's going to be 4 different ingredients or food additives that are inflammatory. There are better for you alternatives to all of these things. It's not a blanket statement. There's a lot of nuance and context and bio-individuality for this. So let me be clear on this. It's just everybody's different, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Everybody's different. Everybody's different tolerances and thresholds for things. But looking at things like, number 1 would be gluten-containing grains. So that's things like wheat, rye, barley, spelt. Now, is it what we've done to it? Or is it inherently bad? I think it's more what we've done to it. I think we've hybridized it. We've created a different grain polysaccharide, a different grain protein through crossbreeding to make it more, yield more. If you look at Bible times, einkorn, these ancient grains were completely different than what we're consuming now. Plus, we spray it with herbicides and pesticides. Plus, we overconsume it. And it was a food that was always stored better during times of famine when you look at historically grains. And now we're feasting on a famine food that's sprayed, hybridized, and not prepared properly. So I think there's a lot of nuance to that it helped people survive, not necessarily thrive. And now we're trying to thrive on a survival food and then messed it up along the way in many different ways. So instead of soaking and sprouting and fermenting like a sourdough ancient grain, we are not doing that largely. So I think that's the first thing I would look at, find some alternatives or cut it out completely. Number 2 would be industrial seed oils, decreasing those or eliminating those. And that's a little bit more controversial, but things like canola oil, soybean oil, vegetable oil, there's a lot of reasons why it's problematic. One is that they're high in omega-6s, and the modern Western diet, specifically the modern American diet, is really high in omega-6s and low in omega-3s. So they're a polyunsaturated fatty acid ratio of omegas 3, 6, and 9 are off, creating a pro-inflammatory state. Inflammation is the commonality between just about every health problem. So all the things that I'm talking about are drivers of inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, they use hexanes, which are petroleum derivatives, to yield, they're solvents to yield more seed oils. So there's a sort of a problematic, toxic component too. And third would be conventional dairy. Now, it's what we've done to it. It's not dairy itself, because like a raw A2 cheese is going to behave very differently than a homogenized, pasteurized glass of milk that's grain-fed and not grass-fed. So that, again, when humans pretend to be God, we end up paying for it in many different ways. And human health is one of them. So fourth would be added sugar, which in its whole food form, like fruits, completely fine. It's in a matrix with vitamins and nutrients and antioxidants and fiber to blunt any glucose spike. But added processed sugar in the absence of fiber, I would just really want people to educate themselves on taking its sugar inventory of the day, like track in a food tracking app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or something like that. And you'd be surprised how many grams of added sugar you're having with your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and drinks. So decreasing the inflammatory core 4, if I could add a +1 to that, would be alcohol. There's not a cute rhyming name for that, but like a 5. I need to think of something that rhymes with 5. 5 to stay alive. Ooh, like decrease these 5, stay alive. I'll go with that. But there's no healthy amount of alcohol, which I know you're good friend, Dr. Amen, him and I are simpatico on this, is that there's no healthy amount of alcohol, and it is going to shrink your brain and create problems, and it's going to impact your gut, your metabolism, all types of things. So decreasing those 5 things would tremendously help American and human health as a whole. And then things to do: focus on nutrient-dense foods. Focus on bioavailable nutrient-dense foods. So soups and stews are good for somebody that has an unhealthy gut, like breaking down, making things like meats and vegetables easier to digest, bringing in lots of good fruits in their whole food form, healthy fat, optimizing protein, fiber-rich carbs. I mean, you really can keep it simple there. And then I'd say my last tip here is not being mindful of what we consume and feed our head and our hearts. Because it's like, okay, we can eat all the best foods under the sun, but what are we serving our head and our heart on a daily basis? So I would say that's more nebulous, but like to look at things on social media, look at things like, what are we ruminating? Because our 30 trillion cells are eavesdropping on our thoughts and emotions, and they impact our physiology just as much as a food that doesn't love us back. So really, that's harder to do. It's more nonlinear, but to really look at things like breath work and meditation and prayer and start, the Bible says, taking your thoughts captive, being aware of your thoughts. So your thoughts, you realize you aren't your thoughts and emotions, but you're the observing presence of them. So that's a bigger thing to unpack. But I think if I had to give America that tip, could you imagine the world would be such a better place on social media and beyond if we did a little bit more of that?
Oh my gosh. I tell people too, like, any kind of self-help personal development book, if I literally wrote Jesus period and then closed it, that would help you more than anything else, because you're always going to continue to want more and want more. And it is kind of why it says in, like, he is the bread of life, the sustenance, that it's, we'll keep wanting food and keep getting hungry, and we'll keep wanting these positive thoughts, and we'll keep going to these personal development seminars, and you'll keep reading all my books and getting nothing out of it and not being fulfilled. Maybe sparks, but not fulfilled. Man, that was so good. The 5 to thrive. Man, I love it. I'm giving it names. All right. Last thing. Such a good interview, man. You're phenomenal. And you know what I like about you too? Like, you've got some really good words in your vocabulary. I'm going to start stealing some of those words. I think it's,
hey, take them.
I'm going to take them.
Yeah. Merriam-Webster owns them. I just say them.
You borrowing them.
Yeah.
What's one guilty pleasure in terms of food? Like, what do you like? If we're going so healthy here, you give me yours, I'll give you mine. All right. Hold on. Debunk this for me. Is stevia bad? Please say no. Please say no.
I would say no. It's not bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
So can I give you like the nuance of that?
You
like
can,
stevia,
as long as you don't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I'm gonna poke a hole a little bit. I'm gonna give you both sides of this, because inherently it's not bad. It's a plant. It's the stevia plant. But what we've done to the dang thing, we like to process things and bleach things and remove it. So over consuming that's something that's, even if it's natural, but if it's more processed, if you're over consuming that, it can have long-term digestive issues. So it can cause some digestive problems. But used in moderation and the more unadulterated variations of it, completely fine. It has a negligible effect on blood sugar. I like that. It's a great sweetener option. Has actually some medicinal benefits. We use it clinically for telehealth patients as a biofilm disruptor, which is getting a little bit too wonky here. But it's just like biofilm are this like a bacterial mucosal barrier where different opportunistic bacteria can be kind of kept in. So people that have Lyme and mold disease, mold toxicity, we actually use stevia plant as a medicine in their protocol. So yeah, it's a plant medicine, and like anything, it's how you use it and what's the sourcing of it.
Totally, that's what I was using it for too. All that
all biofilm. Yeah, that's exactly.
Biofilm. Yeah,
it's chugging back the.
It's my vegetable, man. It's a plant. It's my vegetable that I. Yeah, if I die from stevia overdose, I'm okay with it. I'm literally okay with going out. Dying.
Dude, I've been there. I have been there. There was a rehab center for stevia addicts. I would have been there. I would have checked myself in.
But are you over that? You're no longer.
I am actually over it. I don't have it that often, because this is what I had. This is, and I wouldn't say this is like a guilty pleasure. It was the Zevia sodas. Have you had those?
Have I had? I have like 6 a day.
Okay,
I'm their best customer.
Yes, me. I see. I was there, and I overcorrected. Just like human nature, I kind of like, well, I'd be fine with a few, but I had a problem. There was cans in the back of my car. I looked like I had a problem. Yeah. So that's where you're at.
David, I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
no judgment, but you may want to cut back a little.
I'm feeling a little judgment coming over there, but that's okay.
It's okay.
It's warranted.
It's said in love. It's said in love.
All right. What was your guilty pleasure? You got to give me a guilty pleasure. I could see you like dunking Oreos. Are you an Oreo?
No.
Maybe a Butterfinger?
Butterfinger back in the day, like in the 90s, yes, but no. Well, there's some list of non-negotiables for me. So, but I would have like what's my negotiable is like a Trader Joe's. Like, let me just say it. It's even better. I love peanut butter. There's nothing wrong with peanut butter.
Who doesn't?
But I overdo peanut butter, and I will dip so many different things or spread so many different things with peanut butter on it. So like a Trader Joe's like Oreo type gluten-free Oreo cookie, but I like dunk it in the peanut butter. Mm-hmm. So freaking good. Yeah. But I would say if you want to call it a guilty pleasure, like something that definitely doesn't love me back, but I still will have it in small amounts occasionally, is a peanut butter milkshake. And I do not discriminate. I will go for like any random peanut butter milkshake place. If you have a peanut butter milkshake on your menu,
you're having it.
Your boy's gonna get it. And it's like I have a couple. It's not often, but I definitely do that. And I'm like, yeah, but I can make it myself so much healthier. And but when you're out and you're hanging out with people, which is you do it sometimes.
I mean, totally. Yeah. And peanut butter, I think it can go spread well on anything. There's a few things like that, like butter is good on anything. You might say peanut butter on steak is not good.
There's some limits to that. But
I think it is. Have you tried it? It's actually good.
People do peanut butter on burgers, which I've not done that. Yeah. But to me, I have my limits. And that to me is like,
I don't think
should I try it? Should I try it?
It sounded like a non-negotiable. If peanut butter is your non-negotiable, it should go on everything.
Yeah, I know. I should. Do you like crunchy or creamy?
Oh man, it's a tough choice. I think I'd be a crunchy guy. I think I'm a crunchy. If you're gonna have to,
me too.
I like the crunch. Yeah, I mean, even when I make smoothies, I got to have some kind of, whether it's magic spoon or something in there, something stevia driven with a crunch in there. It's
okay.
Game over.
Yeah. So I don't know if there is like a peanut butter fan lovers group online. I should be. I should be the president of it.
Do you know there's a community for literally everything? Like, I kid you not.
Yeah.
For everything.
Yeah, I imagine. I wonder what the peanut butter community is like.
I know. I just want to dominate some of those communities and be like their guy. Like let's call it, Antwerp, Belgium, peanut butter lovers. Like, I could be the guy. That's all I need.
Yeah, I feel like I should. I've never taken the leap to be a part of their community, but I am one of you. So I'm an unofficial member for sure.
Yeah. All those scoops, they're all 1 tablespoon, just so you know. No, 1 teaspoon. They're all 1 teaspoon. No matter how big you scoop it, it's just a teaspoon. Remember that.
I can down a whole jar very easily. Like it's bad, man. It's bad. But yeah, it's again an organic Valencia peanut butter. We're not talking about any Jif over here, but it's like it's too much. No human should consume. And then I think, how many peanuts have I consumed? It's so many.
Sacrifice of peanuts.
So no, it's the dark. I've talked about this openly on the podcast before. So I'm never I'm not coming from a holier than thou standpoint, but I definitely have to check myself. But back to that sort of mindfulness awareness, like I can check myself better. Just like I brought my Zevia content down, I have cut back even on my peanut butter consumption, not out of restriction, but like it doesn't make me feel great. So I want to a little goes a long way.
Well, maybe check on me with the Zevia. Just be like, hey, did you have 8 today or 5?
Accountability partners.
Yeah, let's start. Let's slowly go down. Yeah. We do have like probably the best offline text thread of anybody human. We'll kind of keep it at that, but it's probably the best. It's probably the best.
We should publish it.
Be hilarious. Call it, peanut butter falcon or whatever. Oh man, you're the best. Thanks for hanging, Will. You're awesome.
Thanks, Ben.
Dude,
thanks for having me.
So good. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more where it came from. You can go find another episode just like it right here. Come on. You can click it. You know you want to.